Hey guys, welcome back to the tennis vlog. I'm sorry that this is a delayed video. I had no control over that. It's due to the weather conditions at the French Open, which means that the quarterfinal lineup actually still isn't set. I've held off on this as long as possible. Ons Jabeur versus Danielle Collins is in a third set, so I'm hoping that by the time I get to the end of this video, one of them will have won and will be set to face Sofia Kenin in the quarters. So that one's going to be the last one I preview and predict. I'm going to take my time getting there. Just a quick note before I get going, and I'll get going straight into the matches very shortly. I'm not feeling at the top of my game today. If anyone's ever had wisdom tooth pain, you'll know how trash it is. I've barely slept the last 2 nights, so not feeling on top form, but hopefully we'll see all the players in Paris on top form. And if you feel like I'm rushing to get through the video a little quicker than usual, that's why. So apologies that I'm not at 100%, but I'll give this my best shot and see what I have for you. So let's start going with the first quarterfinal that will take place today after the culmination of this current fourth round match. That will be between the number 3 seed Alina Svitolina and unseeded qualifier Nadia Podorowska. Just going to check that this is playing. Yep, it's going. I have had a few Wi-Fi issues so far this week. Also, this will be up at a later date to catch if you haven't been able to see it live. I'm not expecting many people to be watching at the moment because I know people watch from Australia, America, and elsewhere, and the time zones aren't great. So I do apologize. Don't blame me. Blame the French Open. It's not on me. Okay, Svitolina versus Podorowska. Obviously, Svitolina is expected to come through this based on reputation and ranking, but I don't think you should be writing it down for a win too quickly because Podorowska, Argentina's hope, one of 2 Argentinians still in the singles draws because Diego Schwartzman is still going. She's been having a good fortnight in Paris. Let's kick off by looking at Svitolina's route. So she's only dropped 1 set so far, but she dropped that one in a pretty devastating fashion. So first round, I thought it was a good win for Svitolina, 7-6, 6-4 over Varvara Gracheva. Young rising talent that I rate very highly. She was able to problem solve there. I think she came from behind in both sets, and it was a quick turnaround for Svitolina from competing elsewhere the week before. So good first round win for her. She looked less convincing in the second round against Zarazua, lost the middle set 6-love really straightforwardly, just completely let it roll out of her grasp, but did regroup as she does and came through for 6-3, love 6, 6-2. Katarina Alexandrova was the first seeded player that she faced in the third round. That was 6-4, 7-5, and then an even more comprehensive victory in the fourth round over Caroline Garcia, who I thought was really fortunate to scrape through her match with Elise Mertens. She was really tight at the back end. 6-1, 6-3 over Garcia for Svitolina. She had 13 breakpoint chances, only converted 6, but did what she needed to do and was clearly making a lot of opportunities for herself in that clash. Moving on then to Podorowska, who is a player that honestly I was not as familiar with prior to this fortnight. For the length of time that she's been in the tournament, I haven't watched much of her play, but I've been impressed with what I've seen from her. So she came through 3 rounds of qualifying. She's technically already won a slam here, Podorowska, because she's won 7 matches in a row. So whatever happens now, she can go away telling people that she won 7 matches at the French, which ain't half bad. So she came through qualifying convincingly, didn't drop a set. She then faced Greet Minnen in the first round. Minnen is a player on the rise. She's got a great backhand, very consistent at ITF level, but Podorowska was a step up, 6-2, 6-1 for her. Then she faced her first seeded opponent in the main draw, Yulia Putintseva, who obviously can rally for days and do all sorts on the court. And Podorowska came through in 3, 6-3, 1-6, 6-2. Then Anna Karolina Shmiedlova. I think a match that a lot of people expected Shmiedlova to win because she'd just beaten Venus Williams and Victoria Azarenka back-to-back. So 2 big wins, but I guess there was a lot of pressure there for her because of the expectation, and Podorowska here was the higher ranked player, even though they were both ranked outside the top 100. So 6-3, 6-2 for Podorowska there, which really put her on people's radars, and then she backed that up with a 3-set win over Barbora Krejcikova. 2-6, 6-2, 6-3 in a match that was a big opportunity for both, and she was able to take the biggest moments in that win. Decent first serve percentage, break points won, similar conversion rate to Svitolina from her match in the fourth round. So these two have they faced off before? I'm pretty sure that they haven't faced off before. I'm going to check that. I haven't actually got a head-to-head page pulled up, but I think I checked and they hadn't faced off. So it's going to be an interesting situation. Yeah, head-to-head love all. What can we say about this one? Svitolina, obviously one of the more consistent players on the circuit, not necessarily as far as matches goes, but her rallying, clay should be a good fit for her game. So it's not surprising to see her doing well at the French Open. I've always felt like there could be a little bit more depth to her game. She is willing to move up the court when the point has got to that position where she should be moving in to finish off. But still, I feel like there could be a bit more depth, and I think that Podorowska could treble her, actually. She's got a really good backhand down the line that has been working wonders this tournament. She hits really fluid. She can use the backhand slice as well. So this has the potential to be really tricky for Svitolina, because she is now, even though she's not a Grand Slam champion, one of the players that's really expected to do well here. She's gone deep at majors before. Seeds and contenders have been dropping like flies, and so I wonder at what point she's going to tighten up when she sees this opportunity, because I've not been shy about saying that I don't see Svitolina as a Grand Slam champion yet, at least, but the draw has opened up and this is like her best shot at the moment. So how does she handle that mentally? And then against a player like Podorowska, who based on her performance to date is going to come out swinging and playing her game and giving Svitolina something to think about. So I'd almost be tempted to go for the upset here, but I don't think I've watched enough of either player to really do that with conviction. But I think Svitolina could be in a little bit of trouble. So what I'm going to say here is Svitolina to win, and in 3 sets, because I think that she might be tested again. So that's that one. Moving on to the first of the men's matches. Now this one could get good. Dominic Thiem, the number 3 seed on the men's side, up against number 12 seed Diego Schwartzman, who is yet to drop a set and obviously reached the final in Rome a couple of weeks ago, having beaten Rafael Nadal. His form there was fantastic. Thiem obviously was pushed to 5 sets in a gripping encounter in the 4th round. So there is definitely potential for this match. Just an update on Jabeur versus Collins, 2-2 in the decider. Really not sure which way that one's going. I thought I had an inkling near the beginning, but now I really don't know. So let's go with Thiem first of all, and look at his route. So it did open up for him a bit, but that hasn't really seemed to make it any easier for Thiem. On the outset, it looks like he was going to have the toughest draw of all, which, I mean, he was projected to. It was going to be tough right from round 1 with Marin Cilic, and I've said previously, I thought that actually might be a good thing for Thiem, because he didn't have any clay court preparation coming into this, thanks to winning the US Open. So it has dropped a little bit in recent rounds, but the competition and the level has definitely been there, so it's only dropped in terms of status of the opponents that he's faced. So Marin Cilic round 1, that was 4-3-3 for Thiem. He looked pretty convincing there. Cilic, though, never really found his rhythm, so it was always going to be interesting to see how Thiem backs that up. He did back it up with another straight sets win over Jack Sock, 6-1, 6-3, 7-6. Just all over the court in the right places he needed to be. Gritty, aggressive, stepped up in that tie break when he needed to. Sock actually had set points, and it could have been a very different story if he capitalized on any of those, but he did let it go a bit, and Thiem, he does not let go of his opportunities when he has them. So straight sets there. Another straight sets win over Casper Ruud, the number 28 seed, 6-4, 6-3, 6-1 in the 3rd round. Ruud's been playing well recently on the clay, so great win. And then Hugo Gaston, provided a real challenge, and I've got to say credit to this guy, 20-year-old Frenchman, wildcard, made the most of his opportunity. I spoke in the last video about how well he performed against Stan Wawrinka and how great his touch was and his ability in the forecourt. Boy, did we see that during this match against Thiem. It was almost a straight sets win for the number 3 seed, but he eventually fought through 6-4, 6-4, 5-7, 3-6, 6-3, and I'm sure everyone's across this. What Gaston did time and time again was drop shot, drop shot, drop shot, over and over, drawing Thiem into the forecourt, taking him off balance. I mean, Thiem has become one of those players who you really don't want to have to be slugging it out at the baseline with, and Gaston had the natural talent and ability to move him around that court. I did tweet about this. What Gaston did isn't something that you'll see players regularly doing against Thiem, drop shotting him on the return or the first shot behind the serve, because Thiem's depth of shot usually is pushing you back a little bit, and the spin he gets on the ball, you need that forward movement, that leaning in to properly execute a drop shot. You also need like natural touch and talent, which Gaston clearly has, and a lot of players that's not their natural style. So having that option, as effective as it was against Thiem, it's not often as doable as it was for Gaston, who was just able to reproduce it time and time again. And that really tested Thiem mentally, because he was losing points via the same combinations over and over, and consistently he just reset, got back to work. When he saw second serves, he ripped into them. He went big on off forehands at key moments in that deciding set where it looked like Gaston might be ready to jump ahead. Obviously, the crowd was on Gaston's side. It was a difficult atmosphere and situation for Thiem, and once again he showed why he's one of the very best players in the world right now. I was really impressed by the way he came through that fifth set, when at times, Gaston had him where he wanted him. So good stuff from Thiem. Moving on then to Schwartzman, who honestly I haven't seen as much of at Roland Garros, but I saw a lot of him in Rome and was really impressed at the way he was using the court, but how consistent he was in the long rallies, which is so important on a clay court. The ability to not just hang with, but get depth on your shots, use your intelligence with the direction he's going with the ball. Sometimes he goes back behind, he just keeps it a little bit unpredictable. And so far in Paris, it's been pretty solid for Schwartzman. Hasn't dropped a set. Also hasn't faced a seeded player though, so we do have to take that into consideration. Naomi Kekmanovic in the first round dropped 4 games, 6-love, 6-1, 6-3. Then Giustino, the Italian, 6-1, 7-5, 6-love. So still like pretty comprehensive sets for Schwartzman. He then played Gombos in the third round. There were some sticky moments of that one, but Schwartzman was able to edge it, 7-6, 6-3, 6-3. And then Lorenzo Sonego had a brilliant win over Taylor Fritz in the third round. Really high quality, phenomenal tiebreak to end it. I think it was 19-17. So he definitely seemed likely to be Schwartzman's first threat, but the number 12 seed was well on top of that, 6-1, 6-3, 6-4. So that makes it very interesting, because Thiem's just had a really good mental victory, demonstrating how he doesn't go away and how he attacks at the right moments, but Schwartzman hasn't dropped a set at all in Paris. These are two players as well who are good friends, know each other and each other's game styles really well, so that adds another interesting dimension to this. Head-to-heads, 6-2 though in the favour of Thiem, if we include their first meeting. 6-2 in Thiem's favour, and that goes back to 2015 in Miami on a hard court. Thiem won that one in straight sets. Thiem actually won the first 3 meetings in straights, one of them on hard courts in Miami, and then 2 of them on clay, outdoor clay, in Rio both times, 2016 and 2017. Schwartzman got his first win on hard, but has also beaten Thiem on clay. His most recent win over Thiem was on clay in Buenos Aires in 2019. That was a final set tiebreak, so going right down the wire. But Thiem's won the last 3 meetings, including on clay in Barcelona 2019, straight sets, and then 2 on hard courts in 2019 and earlier this year at the ATP Cup. That was straight sets. So what to say about this one? I think that if Gaston could challenge Thiem, then 100% Schwartzman can. But I also think it might be a bad thing for Schwartzman that Thiem just had the Gaston match, because He's got his sprints on point now. I don't think Thiem gets tired that easily. He did mention about feeling a little bit under the weather after that match against Gaston. So if he's fully fit, I expect him to be fully ready for this match and how physical it's going to be. He'll definitely be looking to move into the court and try and finish those points a little bit earlier, I would say, because he'll know about Schwartzman's consistency at the moment and just how comfortable he is on the clay. So I think that Thiem is probably more able to take the game to Schwartzman than Schwartzman will be able to Thiem. I think Schwartzman will be looking to kind of edge a lot of the longer rallies. I would say that, you know, as brilliant as Schwartzman's form is at the moment, and it's hard for me to say this given that I haven't watched enough of him in Paris, but I would be expecting Thiem to come through this match just because of the way he came through his last match and the way he's handled himself throughout the tournament. I find it difficult to say in straight sets just because Schwartzman hasn't dropped a set yet, even though he hasn't faced a seeded opponent, and this should be a step up in caliber and competition. It's just, yeah, it's tough to see him going down in straights, and obviously Schwartzman has his chances in this clash and definitely has a shot at the upset. So I think overall, I don't think Thiem would let it go to 5 if he's going to win after the way he was pushed in the last round. So I'll say Thiem to win this one in 4 sets. And I feel like I'm taking a little bit longer over these than I intended. Breakpoint Collins in the decider. She's 3-2 up. She's got a breakpoint. My stream's a little bit laggy as well, so maybe she's already converted. Yes, she has the break in the decider. So thinking about that final prediction now, but we move on to the second women's match of today in the quarters. Really open half now. Literally, Svitolina is the only seed remaining, so a lot of pressure on her. But in this quarterfinal, we have Iga Swiatek, who had a phenomenal victory over the top seed, Simona Halep, up against Martina Trevisan, who has had quite the run. Another qualifier, if I remember that correctly. Let me just check. I think that herself and Podorowska, yeah, both came through qualifying. So quite a fortnight for the qualifiers and wildcards in Paris. It's good to see them really making the most of their opportunity and the qualifiers capitalizing on their form, coming through and the way they were able to early get adjusted to the conditions. Let's start with Swiatek. I rate her so highly. I was saying so ahead of her match with Halep. I did say that, you know, Halep was looking good. I also said that, you know, her win over Amanda Anisimova so comprehensively was almost too good, and it almost looked like the calm before the storm, which it became. She got a taste of her own medicine against Swiatek, who hasn't dropped a set. She showed that she meant business in the first round when she took out last year's finalist Marketa Vondrousova 6-1, 6-2, an identical scoreline to the one with which she took out Halep. Shea Su Wei could have been a really tricky second round opponent. She can throw a lot of different looks on the court, and Swiatek came through that one with another breadstick set, 6-1, 6-4. Eugenie Bouchard in the third round has actually taken the most games of Swiatek so far. 6-3, 6-2 was the scoreline there, and then I can't believe she's unseeded with her current form, but 6-1, 6-2 over Simona Halep in the fourth round. That was on the Sunday, so I didn't watch the completed match, but I went back and watched parts of it. Just so in control and so able to back herself. You know, she's got such great touch and feel, but can also generate so much pace with the forehand. You're never quite sure which way it's going either. So such a talented player, Iga Swiatek, and the draw with the way it's opening up, you know, this could be her opportunity to break through. We saw a surprise finalist in Vondrousova last year, so yeah, it would be interesting if Swiatek were to be that surprise finalist this year, having taken out Vondrousova in round 1. In this year's competition, it's funny how it goes, but we can't rule out Martina Trevisan, who has been fighting so impressively this tournament. She came through qualifying and then in the first round beat Camilla Giorgi via retirement, but she'd already won the first set. Then she faced Coco Gauff in the second round. That got close at the back end, and you've got to compliment the mentality of Trevisan, because there was a very, very, very iffy line call that went against her at a key moment at the back end. I think it would have been match point for her. The point was given to Gauff. Trevisan lost that game. it was getting close, it was getting sticky, but she still found the mentality to fight through. So that was 4-6, 6-2, 7-5 for Trevisan, and she's really kept that intensity up since then. Third round against Maria Sakkari, the number 20 seed. She was in trouble. Sakkari had match points in the second set tiebreak. She had them back to back, but wasn't able to convert. And from there, I kind of felt like Sakkari was competing not to lose as opposed to competing to win, which is the exact opposite to what Trevisan's been doing all tournament. No, she's not got the biggest game on tour by a long shot, but she has been backing herself absolutely and driving deep and really going for her shots and using the court. So it was a 1-6, 7-6, 6-3 upset for her against Sakkari, and then she backed it up with another one against former semi-finalist Kiki Bertens, the number 5 seed and a clay court specialist essentially. 6-4, 6-4. So Trevisan not to be overlooked. These two have faced off previously. And they've actually split meetings. Their first meeting came in 2017. That was on clay, but Swiatek has taken leaps and bounds since then. She was a different player a few years ago. Trevisan won that meeting on clay. It was in 3 sets though, 6-2, 2-6, 6-2. And then they faced off on the grass of Birmingham last year, and Swiatek was able to win that match 6-3, 6-4. So, what can we say about this one? This is a different can't speak English, guys. A different matchup for Swiatek compared to Halep, because obviously Halep is more of a counterpuncher by nature. So Swiatek really able to get on top of the game and on top of the match there, drive Halep, dictate her, which she will have less of an opportunity to do against Trevisan because she's been striking with so much depth and power. That's the game that Trevisan's been going for, just consistent rallying from the baseline with good depth of shot as well. However, Swiatek has had a similar matchup with Eugenie Bouchard, another player that likes to hit big from the baseline, and she did win that one 6-3, 6-2. So as much as I don't just want to push Trevisan to the side here, I think she's had 3 actually really impressive wins in a row here. I think that at the moment, Swiatek, if she can keep a hold of her mentality, this is a match that she should be coming through. And she has talked about, working with a psychiatrist and how the mental side of things has helped her be able to produce her physical best tennis. So I would be taking Swiatek here, having the faith that she does have the mentality to capitalize on what was a massive win over the top seed and the leading title contender. So I'm going to say Swiatek on this occasion, and I think I'd say it in straight sets. I think there's a reason she hasn't dropped a set yet. She's just looking so convincing, and hopefully I haven't jinxed her. But that is all but one of the quarterfinals on the lineup for today. The last one is number 2 seed and 12-time champion Rafael Nadal taking on the unseeded, but playing like he's seeded, Jannik Sinner of Italy. Obviously a former winner of the Next Gen ATP Finals, and good things have happened to guys that have won that event. He's really been announcing himself over the past season or so. Collins and Jabeur back on serve, by the way. Still not calling that one. But this, I know I said that the last match had the potential to be a bit tricky for Nadal, and then he steamrolled through it. Sebastian Korda, massive Nadal fan, and I thought, the way he really wanted to have that matchup, I thought he'd be like mentally and physically prepared to give it a really good go. You can't prepare for playing Nadal for the first time. So Sinner is going to have his hands full, but, I do think that this has the potential to get sticky. I think that, with the way Sinner's been playing, you just can't rule him out. So, Nadal, though, I have been very impressed by and convinced by, so let's start with him. He hasn't dropped a set yet, hasn't come close to dropping a set, actually. Igor Gerasimov in the first round has actually given him the toughest time of anyone, and credit to the guy. He was really using the length of the court in those early stages against Nadal, moving in behind his serve, taking the game to him and trying to stay out of those long baseline exchanges. But when Nadal got his teeth into it, it was game over. 6-4, 6-4, 6-2 for Nadal in that first round. Then faced Mackenzie McDonald, 6-1, 6-love, 6-3. Stefano Travaglia, 6-1, 6-4, 6-love in round 3. And over these matches, Nadal's been looking to get more and more comfortable. He's been able to cut through the court even more easily. He's looked more aggressive, and it culminated with his most convincing win so far by scoreline, tied with second round, against Sebastian Korda, 6-1, 6-1, 6-2. So he's been really stepping in and looking to be more aggressive, Nadal, and it's good to see the way he's cutting through the court, because obviously, for good reason, a lot of people were concerned about how he would cope with the conditions here in Paris, with it being more rainy, more heavy, the exact kind of conditions that he struggled with in Rome when he lost to Diego Schwartzman. So I think valid concerns, but Nadal's brushing them off so far. Now faces another non-seeder in Jannik Sinner, but, you know, Sinner's playing like a top 10, top 20 player at the moment, so I don't think you can take anything away from that non-seeding. Pardon me a moment. My throat's not liking this. Let's move on to Sinner and see what he's done. He knocked off Alexander Zverev in the last round, but before that he'd already had a really impressive win over David Goffin, who has had good results on clay in the past. Was the number 11 seed. 7-5, 6-love, 6-3 for Sinner, and actually hadn't dropped a set until his match against Zverev after wins over Frenchman Benjamin Bonzai 6-2, 6-4, 6-4, and then Federico Coria he beat 6-3, 7-5, 7-5. Now the match against Zverev, really interesting one. Zverev, the number 6 seed, had looked convincing against Marco Cecchinato. I said myself it was the most convincing he'd looked for a while. You know, very smart and intelligent with the kind of shots he was playing. A lot more consistent than usual. Serve was looking stronger. But Zverev was not at 100% physical fitness in that. What have I just done? I've completely... Because I'm an idiot, I've completely got rid of the page I was on. Never mind, I can keep talking. Yeah, so Zverev was not at full fitness. He was ill. He's since had a test. It wasn't corona, thankfully. But he was under the weather for that match, and did say so afterwards, which meant that I think he wasn't able to attack like he would have liked. It was hanging behind the baseline a lot, and Sinner was able to move into the court and dominate. And when Sinner's able to attack and hit big, that's when you're really in danger, because he can open up that court. Even on a clay court, he can generate so much pace, looks really solid, and really dangerous as well, actually. So Sinner won the opening 2 sets, dropped the third, and eventually won in 4, 6-3, 6-3, 4-6, 6-3. I mean, Zverev was not convinced by his own form in that match. He pointed out, I was able to win a set playing what I consider to be a bad match. So I'm not sure what he thought of Sinner's performance overall, but the bits I saw, you know, I have not watched as much of this guy as I should have done. I'm going to say it, given that he is such a big rising star. I think of all the next gen players, you know, he's probably the player I've watched the least of, and yet he's potentially one of the most promising, very intelligent, has great tennis IQ, and I think that Nadal's going to get a little bit of a taste of that when they face off. Now, they've never played before, which is something that's not in the favour of Sinner, because players have said it before, however much you've watched Nadal, however much you know what he's about, you can't really prepare for actually facing that game style for the first time, because he hits his shots so differently to any other player. You know, the high bounce on the forehand, you know, when Nadal's hitting it hard and competitive during a match, that is difficult to contend with in the way it kind of holds you back. But, you know, Schwartzman, when he beat Nadal in Rome, was able to move into the court, get on top of Nadal, finish him off. And if Nadal isn't getting depth on his shots, he could actually be in trouble here because of the way that Sinner was getting on top of the baseline and getting on top of the points against Zverev. Zverev, as we should know, keeping a fair distance behind the baseline as he rallied, which is something that Nadal likes to do by nature. So I don't know if Nadal will have watched that and cottoned on and be willing to move a little bit more into the court in this match. As he said, he has been trying to be more aggressive, and I feel like that could be essential for Nadal in this match, because if he lets Sinner get his teeth into rallies and lets him get adjusted to his style of play, anything could happen here. Sinner's got some good stats going for him. He's the first guy, actually, since Nadal himself to reach the quarterfinals here on his debut. So that makes this a really interesting match, and it's quite hard to predict quite how it will go because I've never seen these two face off before, so don't know how Sinner's going to handle the mentality of the situation, although I expect him to handle it pretty well. Don't know if he is going to be able to get on top and move into the forecourt or move inside the baseline. I think once he's on top of or inside the baseline, Nadal's got a problem on his hands. But, you know, Nadal is the 12-time champion and a great problem solver himself. Hasn't had too many issues with the conditions so far, so I am going to back Nadal here. I'm usually against Nadal in early stages at this slam. I would say, you know, players have a shot. You know, everyone has a shot when they walk on court, but I would be apprehensive to say that they have a legitimate shot at the upset. I think that Sinner has genuine chances here, but I just would not take him against Nadal at this point. I mean, Nadal has lost the 2 times he's lost previously. It's been 4th round and quarters, so this is kind of a little bit of a danger zone. But, you know, how dangerous can it be for Nadal in Paris? You've got to take his records and how he's been playing into consideration. I'd take Nadal. A part of me wants to say straight sets just because of how he's able to take a stranglehold on the key moments. And I feel like he might suffocate Sinner there. I feel like there could be some tight sets, but Nadal will probably come out on top of the key moments. It seems like I'm downplaying Sinner's chances to say Nadal in straights. I want to say Nadal in 4 because I feel like this is the place where it could drop a set, but will he have too much in the big moment? Let's give Sinner a little bit of breathing room. Let's say Nadal in 4 sets on this one, but I think it could quite easily be straights with Nadal kind of taking advantage of the key moments and his ability there. But yeah, I think this one, the most interesting matchup for Nadal so far, for sure. And then we move on to the second day of quarterfinals. And just a heads up, Danielle Collins has come through in the 3rd. It's always a benefit on the women's side, I think, to get that first set. Just give yourself a bit of breathing room. Credit to Collins for not dropping off. I feel like that's actually her 3rd 3-set win. I did have it up because I did have all my pages up, but I accidentally got rid of them. So fantastic. Now I can actually keep alternating women's match, men's match. Okay, let's go next then with Petra Kvitova versus Laura Siegemund. Kvitova, the number 7 seed. If you've been watching my videos, you'll know that I've been calling Kvitova as a dark horse throughout the competition. Now she's gone from dark horse to leading contender because of the way the draw has fallen open. So for me, it's going to be really interesting to see how she deals with that mentally. She made a good start in her last round, and I'm kind of seething that this is her next match. She's up against Laura Siegemund of Germany next. Siegemund, who's known for her ability on the clay. No, she's not seeded here because she doesn't have the consistency across the season to be seeded. But for me, I think this could be Kvitova's toughest match so far. And to be honest with you, just to make it interesting, if Siegemund was against any other player in the draw at the moment, apart from maybe Swiatek, I'd be predicting her to win. But she's against Kvitova, so this is probably going to be one of the hardest, well, definitely one of the hardest predictions for me today. The number 7 seed Kvitova against Laura Siegemund of Germany. Let's have a look at their paths to date, and let's start with Kvitova. So Kvitova opened up with a straight sets win over Ocean Dodin of France, and that was under the roof. So she really utilized the kind of faster conditions. It was able to cut through the court, was moving in. All in all, a very convincing start from Kvitova. And I was impressed, but I did wonder if she would sustain that. She did indeed, 6-3, 6-3 over Jasmine Paolini in the second round. And then the most impressive win for me so far, she's yet to face a seed, by the way, but she hasn't dropped a set. And her third round win came over Leylah Fernandez, who for me, along with Iga Swiatek, is the best teenager on tour at the moment. It might be controversial saying that because obviously one teenager is particularly talked about. Another, Amanda Anisimova, is phenomenally talented, made the semis here last year, and overall for me, you know, and Anisimova is right up there. But at the moment, current form, etc., I'd say Fernandez and Swiatek for me are the leading teenagers on the tour. And Fernandez emphasized that by building a 5-1 lead on Kvitova in the first set, not because Kvitova was playing a bad match, but because Fernandez is just such a great mover. You know, she knows when to play the back behind shots. She knows when to move in. She's got great touch. She basically is the full package, but just still developing. And a fellow lefty of Kvitova's as well. So she was just really struggling out there. And instead of waiting for Fernandez to drop off, Kvitova purely upped her quality to break back and went on a roll. And I kind of was waiting for her to have a little blip and drop off from that peak form. But man, she just kept going with it, really upped her level. And we saw peak Petra Kvitova there. And peak Petra Kvitova is a player that not many can hang with. Even Serena Williams has struggled in times past. I remember Serena getting beaten by vintage Kvitova in straight sets on a clay court. And it was a 7-5, 6-3 win for Kvitova there, which she backed up with a win over her good friend Zhang Shui, 6-2, 6-4. You know, Shui hadn't been like in the best form this tournament, but she'd had a really good fighting win over Clara Burel in the previous round. So good wins for Kvitova, hasn't dropped a set, looking good, but she faces Lara Siegemund next, and I think this could be a challenge. So Siegemund, queen of the drop shot, came through her first round in straight sets over Kristina Mladenovic, who actually she beat in the final of her only Premier title win to date. So that was in Stuttgart a few years ago. Siegemund, I think, actually came through qualifying to win that event, knocked off some big names. Yeah, and beat Mladenovic there, but it was more straightforward this time, 7-5, 6-3. Carried on with a couple of 3-set victories, one over Julia Gerges, who wasn't seeded but has previously been top 10. So 1-6, 6-1, 6-3 over her. And then knocked off the number 13 seed Petra Martic. 6-7, 6-3, 6-love, coming back from a set down. She's shown great fight. And then she played Paula Badosa-Gibert, who has been in great form here, a real clay courter, comfortable on this surface. 7-5, 6-2 for Siegemund, driving with the forehands, going crazy with the drop shot, as she does. She's got great touch. And I think it's that one shot that could really trouble Kvitova, the drop shot, because when you've got Kvitova going toe-to-toe with you at the baseline and she's in form, she's going to find the way to open up those angles. She's going to use the serve and she's going to knock you off the court. But Siegemund has the repertoire to move her around and make her uncomfortable. And she was caught out a few times by Fernandez when the ball was dropped shorter. And I just think that that could give her a little something to think about. I'm also very nervous now because Kvitova, who was my dark horse, is a leading contender. And she just always seems to find ways to not capitalize on these opportunities, which seems unfair to say because her form over the past couple of years has been seriously good. I was predicting her to win a slam the whole of last year, but she didn't. And, you know, coming into this one, it's very much open for Kvitova to take this title. She's really got to keep a hold on her mentality, and I just wonder if Siegemund's going to get in her head a little bit. Head-to-head stands at 1 win to love for Kvitova. They played at the US Open in 2015. Kvitova won very straightforwardly, 6-1, 6-1, but I don't think you can take a lot away from that. Siegemund did just win the doubles at the US Open, actually, with Vera Zvonareva, but that was another time, another player. You know, Siegemund's never had her best results on a faster surface. Clay is what she's made for. And I think we've very much seen that over recent years, so I'm not taking too much away from that previous head-to-head. So where do I go here? Because I can see Siegemund getting the upset here, but with Kvitova's current form, do I have enough confidence to go for it? It's tough. I think I'd have to take Kvitova just based on her form so far. She doesn't, I mean, she never looks like she's going to crack, okay, but she does look quite well in control. I'm thinking back to the Australian Open last year, and she never really did dip off. She just came up against a vintage Naomi Osaka in the final. So I'm going to give Kvitova the benefit of the doubt, but I think it could be a bit of a fight for her. I'm going to say Kvitova to win this one in 3 sets. So thanks to everyone that's tuning in live. Do drop a line in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking of my predictions and what your own are. I can see some of the comments coming up, so thank you for that. I'm always interested to know your thoughts on what's going down. So, who have we got next? We've got a men's match. Andrei Rublev up against Stefanos Tsitsipas, the rematch of the Hamburg final that happened just over a week ago. And that Hamburg final was the reason that I thought we might not see either of these players at this stage. I did say from day one that these two were the guys with the best shot of challenging Djokovic in his very empty half of the draw. I said Andrei Rublev and Stefanos Tsitsipas, the only guys I can really see the only guys I can really see giving Djokovic a hard time. And here they are, one of them, if Djokovic can come past Carreno Busta, of course, one of them is likely to take him on. So this gets really interesting. And honestly, apart from that Kvitova prediction, this is probably the other prediction that's really quite difficult, because I feel like these two are easily matched at the moment. And I think that Hamburg final, which went the distance, showed that. So let's start with the lower ranked. Let's start with Andrei Rublev, who's seeded number 13, has had brilliant form for the last year or so. Still so impressed by how he was able to pick up where he left off after lockdown, having had his rhythm interrupted. Big stuff from him. So far at Roland Garros, he's had a few fights. He came past Sam Querrey in the first round. Now, notable about these two, okay, is that both of them were down 2-0 in their first round. And I think that does give a little bit of validation to what I was saying about competing the week before a slam not really being helpful, because, you know, they did not have as much time, particularly with the restrictions in place because of coronavirus as well. Did not have a lot of time to get adjusted to the conditions in Paris. And I think it actually, at the end of the day, was key for both of them that they had long opening encounters, because it meant that they had more time on the match court to adjust to the conditions, to get feeling their game, to get it flowing again. And that was a good comeback from Rublev. I could feel it happening, actually. I watched parts of that match, and when he got the third set, I was like, it's on. Querrey's not had a great time of it recently. 6-7, 6-7, 7-5, 6-4, 6-3, coming through what was a brutal opener for a slam, really. Querrey, a former semi-finalist at the slams. So, big win for Rublev, capitalised in 4 sets, a win over Alejandro Davidovich-Fokina, who is another player, actually, that's been coming through really well over the last season or so, has quite a bit of variety to his game. 7-5, 6-1, 3-6, 6-1, convincing, I think. Then straight sets over Kevin Anderson. Obviously, clay not the best surface for Anderson, who likes the faster pace of something like grass, where he reached the Wimbledon final. But 6-3, 6-2, 6-3 for Rublev. And then he faced Marcin Fucsovics in what was a gritty battle at times. There were moments where Rublev was down and had to win streaks of games to get back on the front foot. He eventually came through 6-7, 7-5, 6-4, 7-6. I was actually watching this match simultaneously with Tsitsipas' match against Dimitrov, so trying to keep across both of them. I was really impressed by the way Rublev handled the final tiebreak, because if that tiebreak had gone Fucsovic's way, very much anyone's match. They were going toe-to-toe with each other. I think they both appreciated how close it had been. But Rublev just trying to keep things really short, sweet, and to the point in that tiebreak. You know, 1-2 punches off serves and returns, looking to move in and finish off quickly. He won the tiebreak 7-3. You know, he was willing to take the risks and take a couple of the errors that came with making those risks. You know, he really backed himself moving into the court. And that's something that we're going to see against Tsitsipas. 2 players here that are actually comfortable moving into the forecourt, but can also rally from the baseline pretty well. So moving on to Tsitsipas, the number 5 seed. I find it really hard to predict Tsitsipas these days, because you just never know what's coming on the day. But you've got to give him credit, because over the past couple of seasons, you know, he's really established himself among the top 10 and is very much a consistent presence there. So first round was against Jaume Munar for Tsitsipas, came from 2 sets to love down as well. Munar on his way up. He's played a couple of really good slam matches, first rounds this last month. So he played Dominic Thiem, actually, first round of the US, had to retire unfortunately, but had given him a good go. And then Tsitsipas came through 4-6, 2-6, 6-1, 6-4, 6-4. Pablo Cuevas in the second round. Cuevas, a name that you don't see so much anymore, but he was a big clay court player back in the day. He's won big across all surfaces. He's been, troublesome with the way he moves in and with his backhand slice. But Tsitsipas 6-1, 6-4, 6-2. Alias Bedene in the third round. Bedene was a really solid player back in like 2018, 2019. Still great on clay. And Tsitsipas won that one 6-1, 6-2, but it was via retirement, so 3-1 in the third. And then he had the match against Dimitrov. He hasn't dropped a set since the first round. The Dimitrov match was 6-3, 7-6, 6-2 in the favour of Tsitsipas. Now, that middle tiebreak was 11-9, and boy, did Dimitrov have his chances. It was a tough opening to the tiebreak from him. He sprayed a few unforced errors, and he thought, oh, Tsitsipas is in decent form. He'll ride the wave, he'll get this set, and it'll be a jog home. Then Dimitrov came back, and for the first time, he started moving into the court. Now, I didn't see that a lot from Dimitrov. I don't know if he just felt held back at the baseline by Tsitsipas because of the depth that Tsitsipas was hitting with. But I didn't see him venture into the court as much as I would have liked, but he did in that tiebreak. He moved up, he smashed for winners, he did the volleys, and it was working, and he had set points, and that's when the unforced errors came. You got to feel for Dimitrov because he's got the level, he just doesn't bring it to the big moments. Tsitsipas, meanwhile, was able to capitalize. Now, I don't think he hit his peak stride in that match, but he still won it in straights. I also didn't think that Dimitrov capitalized as much as he could have done during the rallies sometimes, which is something that I feel like Rublev could do. Rublev is a player that is going to move into the court and try and finish things off more quickly, which makes this so hard to call because originally I was going to go with a Rublev upset, but he did win the most recent meeting, which was just over a week ago, and sometimes that can backfire because Tsitsipas will have left that match with kind of more to work on. I know it was a close finish. I know Tsitsipas had his chances, but I just feel like when it's a rematch, there's almost more pressure on the player that's just won to kind of defend and win again. It's quite rare, I think, to see two players face each other in such close proximity, and it's if the players are of similar ranking as well, and for it to go the way of a certain player twice over. So that makes this one really tough to call. Looking at the head-to-head, it is 2-1 in the favour of Rublev, but also they played in... Technically, it's 3-1 in Rublev's favour. This is the head-to-head I was referring to earlier, unintentionally. So they played in a challenger in 2017. That was the first time they faced off. Rublev won that 6-2, 3-6, 7-6. So it's been tough from the get-go. They've kind of risen in a similar kind of time frame, but obviously Tsitsipas has taken the biggest leaps of the two. They played at the Next Gen Finals in 2018. Tsitsipas won on that occasion. I mean, what can we take from that, really? You've got... It's first to four in the sets. I mean, I hate that format so much. But anyway, Tsitsipas won that, if you want to take anything from that, in 5 sets. Rublev's won the other matches, okay? 2019 US Open, he won in 4 sets. And then Hamburg last weekend, 6-4, 3-6, 7-5. So head-to-head favours Rublev. Form at the moment and the way they've been able to capitalise in the big moments, it really is 50-50 on this one. I just think that Rublev can take the game to Tsitsipas a little bit more. But is Tsitsipas going to rise up on this occasion? Once Tsitsipas has got to this stage of a major, I'm thinking back to his great run at the Australian Open, it does tend to take a big name to take him down. Not that he's been to the back end on a lot of occasions, but this is so... I mean, which way are you guys going with this one? Because this is tough for me to call. I'm not copying anyone. I know where I'm going now. I was going to call a Rublev upset, and part of the reason I was going to do that, besides the fact I think he can take the game to Tsitsipas, is because I was thinking, how can you have, like, so many top guys making the semis? Like, Tsitsipas, the number 5 seed, you've got Nadal up there, you've got Thiem up there. Would in this time, where things are so unpredictable, would we really see that many like top ranked guys in the semis? So I was thinking something's got to give. Tsitsipas is probably the most likely of being upset. Do I give Rublev a shot? Do you know what? I think I'm going to give Tsitsipas the benefit of the doubt. based on that win over Dimitrov and the way he was able to take it in straights. I may be kicking myself on this one because Rublev was my first thought on this, and my instinct is usually right. What am I doing? Right, it's gonna be close. I think it'll outlast straight sets. This is going 4 or 5. Let's say 5 sets. We've got to have one 5-setter, right? Maybe. Gotta pick one. I'm gonna go. I haven't actually. Do you know what? I haven't picked an upset yet. Let's go Rublev. What the heck? Rublev in 5. Could be the worst prediction I've ever made. Dearie me. Right, moving on from that one. Oh boy, Sofia Kenin. Sofia Kenin against... did I really just predict Rublev to win that? My days. My days. Okay. Right, okay. Kenin against Collins. Which was just set when Collins won a few minutes ago. Oh my days. I want to take that Rublev prediction back. Whatever. Okay. So Kenin was not convinced by her at the beginning of the tournament, and I made that quite clear, but she's getting her confidence back. She was kind of crushed at the US Open. The confidence was gone, and she's rebuilding. She's the number 4 seed. She's one of a handful of seeds left in the tournament, and she's facing Danielle Collins, who's unseeded, but is also a former semi-finalist at a Grand Slam. So this, for me, actually is a really interesting matchup. Obviously, I didn't know which match I was going to be predicting. It could have been Kenin versus Jabeur. It could have been Kenin versus Collins. I actually know which way I'm going to go with this one, and I'll explain to you once I've done the preview why it would have been different in each scenario. Okay, so Kenin so far hasn't faced a seeded opponent, but has been getting into her stride somewhat as things have gone on. So she beat Ludmila Samsonova and Anna Bogdan both in 3 sets in the first couple of rounds. I wasn't overly convinced because she hadn't had the form coming in. She was just kind of able to grit through those matches. Then she had a really straightforward 3rd round win over Irina Barra, 6-2, 6-love. And, you know, Barra is the kind of player she should be beating. She can rally consistently, but there's not a lot of depth there. She's a player that usually competes on ITF level, or competes quite a bit at ITF level anyway, so definitely a match Kenin should be winning. But I think the fact that she got it so convincingly was probably a really big confidence boost for her. Then she came past Fiona Ferro, and you might think, you know, she dropped a set, 2-6, 6-2, 6-1, not that impressive. Ferro's been playing a really good tournament, and she was really aggressive in the opening stages. Particularly, I noted first shot behind the serve, really going for it, and that was keeping Kenin on the back foot. Kenin was getting frustrated, wasn't able to get her teeth into the rallies, etc. So it really took Kenin kind of stepping up and going after second serves to kind of get in Ferro's head a bit, and using the drop shot. She had a brilliant use of the drop shot, really well timed, and that was able to help get her back into the match to come through. She now faces a really tough meeting, I think, with Danielle Collins, who has had a fight in most of her matches actually to come through, but has always finished off looking strong. So 2-6, 6-2, 6-1 over Monica Niculescu in round 1 for Collins. Then 6-2, 6-3 over Clara Tauson in round 2. Now Tauson came through qualifying, was hitting big, had a brilliant first round win over Jennifer Brady, and was going to be a tough customer. Collins winning that one quite comprehensively, despite her opponent not having as much status yet, I thought was really good. Then she came past Muguruza, and to be honest, like, I felt like Collins should have lost that match. Muguruza and her, it was big baseline hitting, who can reach the forecourt first, who can finish off more quickly. And for the most part, Muguruza was winning that, and I think she was 3-love up in the decider. She had Collins' number, and she blinked. I don't want to use the word choked, I find that quite disrespectful given the level of the match, but, you know, she did overthink and let Collins back into that, and Collins seized hold of the opportunity, credit to her. So Collins coming through that one, 7-5, 2-6, 6-4, and then just came past the number 30 seed, Ons Jabeur, 4-6, 6-4 even, 4-6, 6-4. I was actually going to start filming this video after the first set because I felt quite sure at that point that Collins would come through. But then Jabeur came back and Collins went a bit wayward, and it was the drop shot that was a key shot for Jabeur coming back in that match, similar to Kenin, in her match against Ferro. Just when Collins is able to hit from the baseline, at the moment, it's hard to go up against her because she's backing herself so much. She's getting the angles, whether you throw her slice, whether you give her a clean ball. She's looking very comfortable at the back of the court. So the key is to draw her in. That is something that Kenin has the ability to do, as we saw in her last match. So I would be looking for Kenin to bring out the drop shot. But if they go toe-to-toe from the baseline, I know who I'd be backing. So we look at the head-to-head. And when I was thinking about this matchup ahead of time, I hadn't even looked at the head-to-head. But the head-to-head does say 3-love in the favour of Collins. They played twice at ITF level in 2017, Collins winning in straight sets on both occasions. And then they faced off in January in Adelaide, so prior to Kenin winning the Australian Open, and Collins won that comprehensively, 6-3, 6-1. I think an interesting thing here is that Kenin, in her last 2 matches ahead of this event, went down straightforwardly to big hitting players. Elise Mertens, US Open, 6-3, 6-3. And Victoria Azarenka, Rome, on clay, 6-love, 6-love. Now, they were the 2 losses that kind of shattered Kenin's confidence. I'm going to say it, she hasn't faced anyone of that kind of level, I don't think, so far this tournament. Ferro, probably a decent preparation for this match, and she'll have trialed some things like the drop shot that could work well here, but is she going to be able to do that consistently enough? Now, I was starting to be more convinced by Kenin just by her mentality. She knows how to use the angles on the court. She's a smart player. And so if she'd have been up against Ons Jabeur, I'd actually have been picking her to win this match. I think that she would have had the big moment edge to come through. But she's not against Jabeur. She's against Danielle Collins, who is a big hitter, who is backing herself, who's come through some tight ones and has also come past a range of opponents. Niculescu, tricky, dicey. Same with Jabeur. Big hitters and Muguruza and Torsen. So she's had a real mix, and whether it's been straightforward or whether it's been a fight, she's been able to come through all of them. The head-to-head throws me a bit of caution and warning, because usually around the 3-love, 4-love stage, that's where it's key for the losing player, particularly if it's a player like Kenin with her ability to break through, because you've got to stop the streak at some point. It's unusual for someone of Kenin's ability to be 3-love down on a head-to-head against someone like Collins. But she does struggle with this game style, Kenin, and, Collins is, I think, getting going, with all these close matches. So I'm willing to take the chance on Collins here. I think it could be another battle. I think she could have trouble with the drop shot from Kenin, but I think that, Collins is going to drive behind those second serves. She needs a good serving day herself, actually, because Kenin was attacking second serves. But yeah, I think Collins is going to go for it. I think she's going to hold Kenin back, probably make her frustrated. If Kenin can't use the drop shot, then I think she'll be in a bit of trouble here. So I'm going to say Collins to get the upset, and I'll say in 3 sets because she's had some battles. I've just seen the question come up, why was Kenin crying at the end of her match? I'm not sure. I think it might have been relief, she's been quite emotional recently. She was crying as she lost to Mertens, and I think it is just, the emotion of the occasion. She's a real competitor, Kenin. She gets really invested, and it's, based on her attitude at the moment, it's hard for me to call her going out. But, I think Collins has the game style to trouble her. My voice is going. I'm so sorry. Right. I've got one match left. Djokovic. Novak Djokovic against Pablo Carreno Busta in a Grand Slam quarterfinal. Does that ring a bell? I'm not going to go into that. Too much. Right. Okay, so Djokovic versus Carreno Busta. Last quarterfinal on the cards. Djokovic and Carreno Busta obviously faced off in the quarterfinals of the US Open in a match that was cut short because of the incident that got Djokovic disqualified from the event. And to be honest with you, I think that is relevant because I think, Djokovic will be aware of that. and it will give him a little bit of fire under his feet just to get this one done convincingly. But Carreno Busta is in stunning form. Credit to the guy who's had quite a few disrespectful comments thrown at him, actually, I think, over the past few weeks. And here he is again in the latter stages of a slam, proving the doubters wrong. So full respect to Pablo Carreno Busta, who is seeded number 17 here, obviously made the semis at the US Open, led Zverev 2-0 before Zverev came back. Before I get too far ahead of myself, let's start with Djokovic, who hasn't dropped a set. Played Mikael Ymer in the first round, who looked overawed by the situation, to be honest, and Djokovic's game. It's tough at the moment because Djokovic is in such good form. You know, he's won Rome, he was in good form at the US, before that went pear-shaped. I think that probably has given him added motivation to get across the line here. 6-love, 6-2, 6-3 in the first round. And let's rattle through 6-1, 6-2, 6-2 over Ricardos Berankis. Daniel Elahi Galan, 6-love, 6-3, 6-2. Just so much of the same in those opening rounds. Versatility, reading the points well, knowing when to move in, knowing when to finish off. Difficult to hit through him, difficult to finish Djokovic off. He's like an elastic band at the baseline, back and forth, doesn't let you through. He is just a frustrating guy to go up against. And Karen Khachanov found out the same thing. It was 6-4, 6-3, 6-3. Now, that match was closer than the scoreline suggests, but at the same time, it's weird because the outcome, straight sets win for Djokovic, felt kind of inevitable. And I think a key reason for this is the way that Khachanov was gluing himself to the baseline. And, you can say credit to him for having the confidence to back himself from that position against Djokovic, but at the same time, he was not going to win that match at the baseline. Unless you're a Nadal or a Federer, you don't beat Djokovic at the baseline. You have to move him or you have to move yourself. And Khachanov is a player that has the ability to move into the forecourt and do things from there, but I feel like he wasn't serving big enough and he wasn't confident enough that he wouldn't get past, and so that kind of held him back a bit. I felt like he could have moved in some of the big moments. I didn't want to see him serving and volleying the whole match. That's not even a clay court style, but I did want to see him moving in more, and the way he hung back, that was just not going to have a long-term impact on Djokovic to a point where he was going to lose the match. Like, he made him feel it physically. Djokovic looked quite rattled at times in that second set, and first set actually, back end as well, but I just don't think that Khachanov, I don't think that he capitalized on the frustration and the physicality that he was making him feel. I feel like if he'd have just moved up the court a little bit more, and I could be wrong, he could have made that more of a match than it already was. But straight sets for Djokovic, and now the man, Carreno Busta, who has looked good so far. John Millman he beat in the first round, 6-3, 6-2, 7-5. Just a word for John Millman. Poor guy. He gets the toughest opening rounds at slams. So unfair. But anyway, Guido Pella, 6-3, 6-2, 6-1 in the second round. Now, that's a good win. Pella actually plays better on a faster surface, I think. But, still a player that knows his way around a clay court. As is Roberto Bautista Agut. Now, that one was going to be close and had the potential to go all the way, had the potential to go to 5 sets. But Carreno Busta, 6-4, 6-3, 5-7, 6-4. Backs that up with a straight sets win over Daniel Altmaier, 6-2, 6-7, 5, 6-2. A word on Altmaier. Came through qualifying, made the fourth round, has had a great attitude all the way through. Credit to him, has been hitting deep, has been moving up the court. Against Carreno Busta, it just really got to him. I think maybe he was starting to feel the tiredness of so many matches as well, but he had the lead in that second set. He looked like he could level, and I think Carreno Busta won the last 5 games of that set to take the 2-0 lead, and it's different when you're 2 sets to love down and you haven't come as close. It's kind of a mindset of, right, let's get myself going now. But the fact that Altmaier had been so close to leveling and then found himself 2 sets to love down, mentally that's really tough to recover from. And I wasn't surprised that he went away a little bit in the third set and Carreno Busta was able to come through. But it's just another sign of Carreno Busta's mental strength, his ability at the baseline, how well balanced he is, how many balls he gets back in play. He also does move up the court a little bit more, and I would expect him to do what Khachanov didn't do, which is move into the court, which is essential against Djokovic. Now, the interesting thing here is that obviously these two were facing off before the lines judge incident at the US Open, and Djokovic was serving for the opening set, and Carreno Busta played some big tennis, and actually at the time that Djokovic was disqualified, he was 6-5 up on the scoreboard. So there is a massive danger here of underestimating Carreno Busta, which I hold my hands up, I did several times at the US Open. I called him, I called Shapovalov to beat him in the quarters in 5, and then Carreno Busta beat him in 5, so that was actually quite close. But I think I called Zverev to win semis in 4, or even straights, and then Carreno Busta was 2 sets to love up there. So I'm very wary of underestimating this guy, and it might lead to me not getting this prediction on point, but I don't want to underestimate him the way I have done in the past. So Djokovic leads the head-to-head 3 wins to the 1 of PCB. He won the first 3 meetings. 2 of them were on clay, actually, 2014 and 2017 in Monte Carlo. 6-love, 6-1 for Djokovic on the first occasion, but went to 3 sets on the second meeting on clay, 6-2, 4-6, 6-4. Cincy, they played in 2019 when it was actually at Cincy. As opposed to in New York, 6-3, 6-4 to Djokovic. And then the one that is down as a win for Carreno Busta is that 6-5 incompleted match from the US Open. So Djokovic is in scary, scary good form. You know, the drop shot was on point against Khachanov. Great touch, great feel. He seemed content with the rallying at the baseline. One thing that was interesting actually was that Khachanov was actually winning a lot of the longest rallies. The area where he was not successful was the mid-length rallies, which made up a majority of the match, which is why he ended up going down, because Djokovic had them under control. But when the point went really long, particularly at the beginning of the match, it was Khachanov that was coming out on top, and Carreno Busta is a guy that can go with Djokovic toe-to-toe and extend those rallies. So he does have chances here, but Djokovic is just in sublime form right now. It's difficult to bet against him. So I'd be calling Djokovic to win, but I'll give it a little bit of breathing space and say this might be his first challenge. I do think, it could be tight sets and Djokovic winning straights. Similar story to the Nadal match, really, but I'm gonna at least give Carreno Busta a set here and say Djokovic to win this one in 4 sets. And that's a wrap. We are done. So this took longer than I expected, but I'm actually feeling, I said at the beginning I was not feeling great, but I'm feeling a little bit better now. So yeah, that's what you got to do. Force yourself to do stuff, I guess. But yeah, that's a wrap. Leave a comment, let me know what you thought of my predictions and what your own are. I am not expecting this to go as well as US Open, where I got 7 out of 8, almost 8 correct quarterfinal predictions, which might be an all-time best for quarterfinals predictions I've actually filmed. But, if I can get half or more of these right, then it's satisfactory. I still can't believe I did the Rublev prediction, but I had to pick an upset in one of those men's matches, I think. And I was not going to strike off Djokovic, Nadal, or Thiem. So it's been interesting. Let me know your thoughts, and I'm going to wrap this up. This will be available at some point on my watch page. It's taking YouTube forever to process videos at the moment, so don't know when that'll be, but I'll tweet the link out a few times. Thank you for watching. I'll be back for the semi-finals. I'm really curious actually to see what the lineup will be, particularly on the women's side, because we never know which way that is going. So guys, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you for the semi-finals.